Hello and welcome to all the people who have arrived in the last couple of minutes. We'll be starting very soon. So I'll go through standard housekeeping in a moment, but Michael, are you able to, just wondering how we can secretly do this. Do you have my email address at all, Michael?
I'm sure I can find it. What do you want me to email you?
An answer to a question that I'm going to use as part of my introduction to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not a problem.
Put it in here. Put it in the chat.
You can do it privately in the chat if you'd like as well.
Oh, actually, yes, that would be just as easy, wouldn't it? Okay, I'm just going to do that. I tell my students to do that if they need to, but I don't tend to do it.
There's a standard Zoom room, so we've got the ticks and the crosses and everything.
What was that?
Yeah, yay for that. Yay that it's not a webinar room. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I can see who the participants are and I can see the chat.
That's it. Yeah,
much preferred.
I'll tell you what, this morning was the first time I was on the other side of the webinar room, and it feels much more like you're involved as opposed to just viewing when you're on that panelist side. But yeah, I agree with you. It's weird when you're on the other side. Yeah, sort of remote.
It is quite different, that's for sure.
Oh, that's an easy question, Susan.
Yeah, well, just give me your response and feel free to say why. I'm just waiting for Darren and Christine to arrive, but I would like to get started because I know most conferences that people attend to, it's getting everybody back into the room after the chit chat at the break, which, you know, that's super important, but we do need to stay on track. Otherwise, I will get sacked as a facilitator. So for those of you who are here and for anybody else who arrives very soon, welcome to our concurrent session today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Susan. I'm based in beautiful Rockhampton in Central Queensland, and my normal hat is an education lecturer. So I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say today in our session as well as across the next couple of days. The way it will run is all the presenters have been given 15 minutes to share their valuable pieces of information. I will give them a warning when they've got a couple of minutes to go. If you've got questions, please put them into the chat box, and then we will allow, just a very small window at the end. But presenters, if you haven't already shared your contact details with everybody, would you please do so perhaps on your slide or in the chat box, whatever's easier. So if people want to talk to you in more detail, I can do it that way. I'm asking everybody to have their themselves on mute, please, which I know most of you would be quite used to doing anyway, but it just makes it easier for everyone. So when we are discussing this, if you could also have your phone on silent and preferably, headphones on if need be, if you've got other voice sounds and so on in the background, if you need to speak up, particularly at the end if you're asking some questions. So with no further housekeeping needed, I would love to introduce our very first speaker today. Wendy will share all the necessary information with you, so I thought I would share something else from Wendy. Because we're talking about technology, I've asked my presenters to tell me their favourite piece of kitchen technology at the moment. And so Wendy said that her favourite go-to, would never do without, is actually a whisk. So many of you might have one in your famous second drawer that's full of all sorts of bits and pieces. So Wendy said, without a doubt, that's one thing that she could never do without. So over to you, Wendy.
Thanks very much, Susan. And hello, everyone. Let's share my screen. So today I'm talking about Blackboard Ally and this long sort of title of providing students and educators with flexibility in content formats for accessibility. My contact details are there, email address or Twitter, and I'd like to start with a recognition of traditional owners. I acknowledge the traditional custodians, the Aranda people of the unceded lands on which I live and work. That's Alice Springs. I pay respect to elders past, present and emerging, and I extend this respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So we'll start off with an overview, I guess, of SoTT Suite from my view here at Charles Darwin University. The learning management system is based on Blackboard Learn. You can see some figures there, multiple locations, different modes of study for the students. Blackboard Ally was introduced in 2019, so there's an indexing process that goes through when this product is introduced into the LMS so that it can go and find all the content that it needs to provide alternative formats for. It was implemented for summer semester units in higher ed in November 2019, and we've got all units on our production server with access to Ally from 2020. We also had a Fix Your Content Day this year in May, and that was in combination with the Accessibility Day that is a national or international day. That was arranged by Blackboard Ally, and that allowed us to really focus in on the accessibility of content in the learning management system. So I'm about to play a very short video just so that you can see what Blackboard Ally looks like from the student perspective. And while I'm going, you could pop along to help.blackboard.com/ally, and that's where most of the information sits. So as Professor Huntley said in her opening address, I'm here as part of my scholarship to share and learn from the work that we do, and to it's a bit of an opportunity for reflection on this particular product and how it's gone. So one moment and I'll just get the video for you. Less than a minute.
If your school uses Blackboard Ally, you can download alternative formats directly from your course in a format that works best for you. Let's take a look. In your course, select the icon to the right of a file to access the menu, then choose the version that works best for your needs. If you're not sure which format to download, be sure to check out our help site to help you decide. When you have found the format that you need, select Download. One final note. Instructors and administrators can turn off the alternative formats for an individual content item within a course. If this is done and you select alternative formats, you will see a message saying that the alternative formats are disabled.
So that's it. It's quite simple, if you like, but we'll be talking about some of the institution reports that are available from this product. So what we found is that accessibility in the online space is a multi-team approach. The bubbles on the left there indicate some of the teams that are involved in making accessible online courses. So there's learning management system support and development. That's sort of where my current role sits. There's the student equity team, we've got ed developers, we've got digital designers that are based in the faculty and the schools. We have academic leaders that take a lead on this, and all of that feeds into, you've also got IT, and there's probably a few other bubbles that I've missed there, but accessibility of content is not just a simple one person sort of job. So the quote at the bottom of the screen there says, in some ways, accessibility could even be seen as a wicked problem. That's from Professor Robert Fitzgerald, who's the PVC of Education Strategy here at CDU. So you might want to think about that. If you think that accessibility is a wicked problem, or is it just something, an ongoing sort of thing that we need to address? On the right-hand side there, we've got an overall accessibility score. So this is provided by Ally in the institution report, and this particular bubble is just for 1 month, August 2020. And what it measures is an overall average. So the black line around the outside is an average of the orange and the grey line. The orange line is for WYSIWYG, or the average score for HTML content created in the learning management system. And the grey is for files. So that's, you know, Word or PDF or Excel or whatever's been added to the learning management system as a file. That's the score there. So 87.5%, it's quite high, and we're doing quite well. But there's pockets of areas that we need to address. So this graph on the left here gives you an idea of the alternative formats that are available. You've got, you know, HTML and tagged PDF, obviously quite popular. This is the data from semester 2, higher ed semester 2 at CDU. But the two that I've circled there, Beeline and EPUB, compared to the semester 1 data, this has increased quite dramatically. So that's quite interesting, and it'll be work for us for further investigation, you know, is why that's the case, or if we need to work towards providing documents that work well in that alternative format. So Beeline, if you're not familiar with that, is it's called beelinereader.com, as well as it's a new format which displays color gradient technique, and it can increase speed, reading speed, it can enhance focus, it can benefit people with dyslexia, ADHD, low vision, or issues with visual tracking. And I've tried it, and I don't have I don't self-identify with any of those particular issues that we've just mentioned, but I love it. To me, it's definitely helped me read on the screen, and it's got quite it's got 4 different types of color gradient that you can choose. The OCR PDF is quite a contentious area, so I'm not surprised that this is quite low in the alternative format that is selected. Particularly, for one example, engineering and IT have handwritten solutions that they put up, and this would flag, would provide a red flag for Ally saying that the alternative format of OCR is not going to be very usable or very friendly. The translation is 0 because it's not enabled in our system, and the conversion rate there, 62.3%. What that's talking about is that when a student clicks on the alternative formats window, then they click download. So the 62% of all the clicks on that window actually download something. And so we might conclude that a high conversion rate, you know, I guess anything over 40, 50% means that the students are benefiting from the alternative format, but, you know, that's sort of an assumption rather than any other evidence, because we haven't actually talked to the students about their usage of the formats. And lastly, this slide here is alternative formats usage over time. So I started it from July, which is the start of higher ed semester 2, running until pretty much this presentation time. So the first peak there is actually week 1 of higher ed semester 2. And then the other 2 peaks are around week 5 and week 9. So these may relate to when assessments are due, and assessments here often have attachments. So the students may be requesting alternative formats in those attachments. The very start of this data is week 0. So we open our units a week before our week 1 study. And you can see that there's more requests for alternative formats at the start of the semester. When the focus that so the tips that I would give, or the focus points from this whole exercise of looking at the usage of alternative formats, is that we need to improve the attachments before adding them to the LMS. So that might mean getting to use the accessibility checkers that are in Microsoft Office, doing some PD on the Adobe suite, because they have an incredibly powerful accessibility checker, and it goes through a lot of areas to adjust your document. Maybe assisting staff to check in with students to see if they need assistance in accessing the material, because as you see from that video, it's not really in your face. There's just a little A symbol. So I think that's something that staff or educators could assist students with. So the work that we're going to do is looking at this data, keeping an eye on how it's going. Each individual unit also has a unit report for Blackboard Ally, and that allows the educators to look at their own unit and to quickly click into areas that are easy to fix. So for example, pictures that don't have alternative text, that's an easily flagged thing, and then it can get more complex than that. Blackboard Ally provides on-screen assistance as well. So that concludes my talk on Ally, but I'd just like to do a shout out to teleadvisors. Full disclosure here, I'm a leader of the teleadvisors SIG. So that's an Ascolite SIG, and if you're not familiar with the Ascolite SIGs, I'd really encourage you to go to ascolite.org. There's a wide range of special interest groups that are, all free to join and are great communities. For example, this year, business education and learning design are 2 new SIGs. But I'm a leader for teleadvisors, so if you're not already a member, I'd encourage you to go to teleadvisors.net or check us out on LinkedIn or Twitter, and join in with a community of educators that are really passionate about technology enhanced learning, or whatever that might mean for your particular application. So thank you, and open for questions.
Thank you, Wendy. I didn't even need to put give you the warning there. So Michael's put a comment up there about different SIG, but before we get into that, or before Michael can comment on that, are there any questions for Wendy at all, please?
So just answering Michael's question, that's correct. Yeah. You don't have to be a member of Ascolite to join. So you can go to teleadvisors.net, for example, and join our Moodle group, or it's free and open, so you can just interact with the community through like our monthly webinars or through Twitter.
Thank you. While people are just considering if they've got a question for Wendy, I must say it's fantastic to hear some alternate ways of assisting our students to access our, the content that we cover, no matter which university we're at. I know for some of my students that I've worked with over the years who have challenges such as dyslexia or hearing impairment and so on, any little change that we can make to make it a little bit easier for them so that they can focus on their content rather than trying to get access to the content is a fantastic way that we can support our students. So thanks very much for that, Wendy. All right, any other questions from people? No? Well, as Wendy has already indicated, she has the her contact details. So if you think of something later, feel free to contact her separately. Sorry, a question has come through. This is the joys of the delay with the chat box. Byron's asking about software that you would recommend, specifically for subtitles.
So I don't have a general recommendation, although my current hint is that Google Chrome browser has now got a plugin for subtitles. So for example, a student that has a lecture recorded in Blackboard Learn through Blackboard Collaborate, they can download a recording, and if they open it up in Google Chrome, the browser is providing the subtitles. And I've tested it and it's quite usable. Like, it seems to be maybe on par, maybe better than YouTube subtitles. So that would be my tip for the month.
Thank you very much.